Hi, this is Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making these super simple, easy to make, sober granny in a spiral fingerless gloves. You will love this pattern so much. It works up super quick. We're just working into spaces, so no fiddly bits about finding your stitches. And it works in a spiral, so you don't have to worry about joining and stepping up. We just kind of keep working around and around and around. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, it is available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And there is even a spot in the pattern where you can write down how many rows you did before the thumb hole or after if you want to customize them. And stay tuned to the end of the video. I'll be showing you how to do a super quick invisible join. To make the sober granny in a spiral fingerless gloves, you will need yarn. I'm using a 4-weight yarn, Saver from Ice Yarns. The color is terracotta, and I will put a link to it in the description box down below. You'll also need a crochet hook. I will be using a 6mm with this yarn. Also a darning needle for sewing in your ends, 1 stitch marker for keeping track of your spiral, and a pair of scissors. So let's get started. So we're going to start by making a slip knot, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, and chaining 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 22, 23, and 24. So when you have your chain 24, just lay it out flat on a surface or on your lap so you can see these pretty V's facing up. We want to make sure we're not getting any twists. So lay it into a bit of a circle, and we want to look for our first stitch, our first chain. So we have our knot right here. We want to go right into that very first chain, just underneath one loop. So just into that top loop, we want to slip stitch. So take your hook, making sure there's no twists, and poke that top loop, or that first loop, onto your hook, and make a slip stitch. Chain 1, and just kind of put your thumb on top of those sweet little V's and just kind of hold it to the side. We're going to be looking for our back loops or camel bumps, and that is these little camel bumps along the back. They're called back loops, but camel bump is more fun. And we're going to be looking for our very first one. The one that you can see here, that is our number 2. That's our second stitch. So we're going to have to kind of look behind to find that first one, and it is right here. That is our first back loop. It's underneath where we did our slip stitch in chain 1. So into that back loop, we're going to do our first single crochet. So just poke it onto your hook and make 1 single crochet. And finding that sweet side of your V's again. It kind of twists around in the beginning, so take your time. There's our sweet V's, so put your thumb on those V's, roll it to the side. Now we can go into that first one that we see, which is our second camel bump. So we're going to make a single crochet into each one. So 1, 2, 3, all the way along. We're going to make 24 single crochets, 1 into each back loop or each camel bump. If working into your back loops is difficult for you, or frustrating, you can go ahead and work into the front of your chain. It doesn't matter. It just looks a little tidier on your cuff if you work into these back loops. So pause the video and make 1 single crochet into each of these back loops all the way along. So I've gotten back around my single crochets. Just count that you have 24. So to count that you have 24, I start at the beginning. And you can look on the side, it's going to be the first stitch that's up high. This is our chain 1 down here. This is our chain 1. So that's not really a stitch. It is, but it doesn't count. So we're going to start counting here. So I start, just kind of pinch it with my fingers, so if I lose count, I know which chain I'm on. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we have 24, and we're ready to start our pattern. So that was the slow bit. We got it done. Now we're on to the fast bit. So now we're going to work into that very first single crochet that we did right here. And we're going to make a single crochet. So just push your hook straight in. Make one single crochet and chain 2. 1, 2. Now into the very same stitch, right where we did our single crochet, we're going to make 3 double crochets. So wrap your yarn and 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to skip 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3. We're going to work into the 4th over here. So into the 4th stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip 3 stitches again. So 1, 2, and 3. We're going to work into the 4th stitch right here. So push your hook in, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Skip 3 stitches again, 1, 2, 3, working into the 4th, 2 strands of that stitch on your hook, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Skip 3 stitches again. Into the 4th, we'll do the same block, so 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. So that is our block for this pattern. Here's our 3rd double crochet. Skip 3 again and into the 4th, our last block. Single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So that's what it looks like so far. Push your hook into that next chain 2 space that we made of our first block and make 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and 3 double crochets all into that space. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to mark that chain 2 that we just made. That is going to be our marker of where we joined. So we're just joining with a regular block, and now we're working in a spiral. So all we're going to do now is put a block into each of these chain 2 spaces, all the way around and around and around. So just hop into the next chain 2 space and make 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Jump into the next space and make a block, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. There's number 2, and here is number 3. Just like that. So now you can pause the video and keep working around until you have 7 rows of your shells completed. So I'm completing the 7th row of shells, which is the 8th row of the pattern. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is my 7th block right here. So we're going to finish it the same way we always have. Single crochet, chain 2, but now we're going to put 4 double crochets into this space here. So we're going to start our 8th row of shells, or our 9th row of the pattern, with 4 double crochets into this space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And move your stitch marker up, if you haven't already, into that chain 2 space. So now keep going around doing your regular shells. So single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into each chain 2 space all the way along this row. When you get back to your stitch marker, single crochet into that space, just 1 single crochet, and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to jump straight over and start our next block into the next chain 2 space. So this is going to be the thumb hole of our fingerless glove. So into the next space, just a regular block, single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into that same space. And now keep going around, making a block into every chain 2 space like we always have been until you get back to your stitch marker. So when you get back to your stitch marker, we just have this chain 5 space. So we're going to do our block just into that chain 5 space. So just jump straight over into that space and start your block. So single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets just into that big space. 1, 2, and 3. And now just keep going like usual, a block into every chain 2 space. When you get back around to your thumb hole, just go ahead and work right into that chain 2 space like usual. So single crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And keep working your way around until you have 3 rows on top of your thumb hole. So I'm just starting my 3rd row on top of my thumb hole. So I'm going to move that stitch marker up, so I know when I'm going to be finished making my blocks. So now we're on our last row. We want 3 rows on top of our thumb hole. So there we are. I finished my last block. We're ready to join in to finish off our row. So we're going to join in the same way, 1 single crochet. So just pop your hook in and 1 single crochet. Go ahead and take that stitch marker out. And now into the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, we're going to make a single crochet into each. So 1 single crochet and another single crochet. Now we're going to jump over into our chain 2 space of the next block and make 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet and our 2nd single crochet. Jump over into the chain 2 space, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. And we're just going to keep doing this all the way along, jumping into the chain 2 space, making 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Just like that. So you can pause the video and I will see you when you get back to where we started. And there we are right back where we started. Here is our first single crochet right here. If you're new to crochet, you can just go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet, chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and sew in your tail. Or if you want to try a fancier finish, it's not hard. Before we have done any joining, I just have my last single crochet on my hook. Go ahead and cut your yarn and pull it through that stitch. So we haven't joined, we just pulled our yarn up through that stitch right there. And thread your needle. Now we're going to look for where our first single crochet is. So right here. And we're just going to put our needle straight through, right where we would be putting in our hook. So bring your yarn through and keep an eye on where it's coming from the center of this hole, or center of that stitch. So just kind of pulling it over, but keeping an eye on where it's coming from. And then just bring it down into that same stitch where it came from. And it doesn't matter, you just want to in through the top. And see how that makes a nice stitch along the top, so you can't really see where you have joined. So that's an invisible join. Now you just sew in your tail like you normally would. Sew in the tail for your joining yarn where you started at the bottom. Go ahead and repeat that for a second glove and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel by hitting that button down below and the notification bell beside that so you don't miss out on any more awesome tutorials just like this. If you're over on Instagram, you can find me at Secret Yarnery or Facebook, The Secret Yarnery. Love to have you join us. We also have a Facebook group, The Secret Yarnery Crochet Community. Great place to ask questions and connect with other fellow hookers. So thanks so much for hooking along. We'll see you in the next video and stay hooked.